Tyra Banks is a Sagittarius sun, and Sagittarius people are known for being very self righteous, dogmatic, preachy, know it all. They believe that their thoughts, beliefs, and ideals are superior, and they get very combative when someone tries to challenge them. And Tyra's sun is at the 12th degree, which is a Pisces degree, and it's conjunct to her Neptune, which on a positive note can make her very creative, artistic, a visionary. It can make her a dreamer, which is interesting because when she was promoting her new modeling amusement park earlier this year, she kept referring to that dream she had for a very long time where everyone could be unique and where all types of beauty could be celebrated. But on the negative note, Sun conjunct Neptune in Sagittarius can make Tara delusional, egotistical, not practical. It can make her a liar, a hypocrite, and someone who refuses to acknowledge or agree with other people's perception of reality. And this is reinforced by her Gemini South Node in her 12th house of hidden things and self undoing, which can make her two faced, shallow, and a very skilled undercover liar. It can make her a trickster or even a con artist. It can also indicate Tyra enjoying media attention since Gemini is associated with the media. And it can point to her doing things just to make the media talk about her. And apparently, when it was time for Tyra to cancel her talk show, she told the media that she was canceling the show before she even announced it to her staff, which is quite weird. Sun conjunct Neptune in Sagittarius can also make someone very naive, and one of the main reasons behind Tyra and Naomi Campbell's feud wasn't the fact that there was real tension between them, but it was more so people around them were creating fake drama and telling Tyra things that Naomi allegedly said about her. For example, that Naomi made a designer fire Tyra right before the start of a fashion show. And unfortunately, Tyra believed all of these lies, and it really made that rivalry more intense than it truly was. Sagittarius people can be very ambitious and geared towards expansion, so they love to spread their thoughts to as many people as possible. And this could point to Tyra using her career, mainly her television career, as a way to broadcast her own personal thoughts and beliefs about a variety of topics, but mainly beauty, race, and the fashion industry. Tyra is known for not letting her guests talk during her talk show and always putting her 2 cents into everything, always doing something to put the attention back on her and remind people that this is the Tyra Banks show, and always making herself look like the savior and making her guests look bad. Also, a lot of the photo shoots, challenges, and final runways on America's Next Top Model are inspired by Tyra Banks' personal experiences in the modeling industry. Tyra also doesn't allow her top model contestants to complain or make excuses or talk back to the judges, otherwise, they would be edited as rude or angry. And I remember this contestant named Carrie D. She was doing a shoot in the water, and at one point she started convulsing because the water was so cold. And then Tyra afterwards just told her, "Oh, you should have spoken up. You should have warned us." Even though she preaches every week that there's no room for excuses, any type of excuses on Top Model. But it's very characteristic of Sun conjunct Neptune in Sagittarius. Tyra thinks she's always right and the other person is always in the wrong. Sagittarius individuals can be very globally minded and interested in different cultures, and Tyra has always used her platform to represent different types of beauty and celebrate diversity. But that Sagittarius influence can sometimes cause her to exaggerate and go overboard, which she definitely did when she made her contestants on Top Model portray different races during photo shoots, and she did it more than once. And Tyra also does a lot of stereotypes photo shoots, for example, high school stereotypes or political stereotypes, etc. Sagittarius is also associated with teaching, education, and publishing, and Tyra did publish two books, Model Land and Perfect is Boring, and she has always been a good student at her core. In fact, before she got scouted to go to Paris for her first fashion week, she was planning on going to university to study film and television production, and she received a lot of college acceptances, mainly from UCLA, USC, and Loyola College, and modeling was just a side job to help her pay for college. And even when she was prepping for her Paris debut, she studied the fashion industry like she was a student. She read every book she could access and she went to every library available. And Tara also completed a certification at Harvard Business School in 2012 to become a more hands on businesswoman. And she also taught a personal branding class at Stanford in 2016. Taurus Mars is very strong in her chart. It's in Aries, its home sign. It's also at the 25th degree, which is an Aries degree. It is located in her 10th house of career and reputation. It's ruling her Aries midheaven, and it's Tara's final dispositor. So this can make Tara a very strong career woman, a great entrepreneur, someone who enjoys starting new businesses. And Tara has been a model. She started America's Next Top Model, and then she started her own talk show. She had her own makeup line, her own production company, and she even had her own T-Zone summer camp at some point. But on the negative side, her Mars in Aries can indicate someone who's very bossy, selfish, exploitative, and hard to work with. And a lot of employees from the Tyra Banks show have come forward in the past saying how Tyra has diva tendencies and how there's no arguing with her directions. And her Aries Mars is ruling her fifth house of television and entertainment. And that exploitation element can definitely be seen in Tyra Banks' TV shows, mainly America's Next Top Model. So, top model contestants get makeovers a few episodes after the season begins, and Tyra is usually the one deciding who gets what, and she's known for giving contestants shocking makeovers just for the sake of, TV ratings without even thinking about whether or not it'll actually help them in their modeling career. I remember that one girl named Shy who had her hair half black and half white, and also had one black eyebrow and one white eyebrow. And from the get go, it just made no sense. And later on that season, the contestants had to go on go sees, which is basically visiting designers in the hopes of getting booked for runways or print work. And some of the designers did not book Shy, not because she was a bad model, but because of her hair. And if you watched Shy's cycle, you know that Shy had a great walk. So basically, Shy missed out on a booking because of Tyra's foolish makeover. Also, Tyra has tried to put on a weave on white girls several times. She did it on at least three contestants. For example, JL and Brittany from Cycle 8 and Molly from Cycle 16. And she knows that Caucasian hair can handle weave as well as black hair, but she still wanted to move forward with it. And if you watch these three girls, you know how it turned out. They ended up removing JL's weave after she spent 8 hours in the hair salon. And they also ended up removing Brittany and Molly's weaves a few episodes later. So this behavior is very Aries-like because it's all about acting impulsively without thinking of repercussions. And this also reinforces that Sun Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius that makes Tyra so unpractical. There's also the behind the scenes filming conditions that weren't so great, such as contestants not being fed enough food or contestants not being allowed to talk unless cameras are rolling, and so much more. Also, Tyra's makeup line, Tyra Beauty, was revealed to be a multi-level marketing scheme, aka an MLM, which is a business model that basically takes advantage of young, naive, vulnerable people. Check out the link in my description for more details about this. Tyra's Mars is opposing her Uranus, which can also represent Tyra being independent, rebellious, rash, and mistreating her staff and her contestants, and just not caring about what the world thinks of her. Her Mars and her Uranus are also squaring her Venus, which can indicate issues getting along with people, mainly women. Tyra has Saturn and Cancer in her first house of the self, and this can bring struggles and hardships surrounding fertility. And Tyra has been very open about her struggles with conceiving a child. She had to resort to IVF and surrogates in order to have a child. And Tyra's Saturn is at the second degree, which is a Taurus degree, so it deals with self-worth and self-esteem. And Tyra did mention how her fertility issues took a toll on her personality and how she identifies herself as a woman. Cancer also deals with your roots, your race, and your origins. So Tyra's Cancer Saturn could indicate her feeling insecure about being black or her being bullied because of her skin color, which damaged her self-esteem. And when she was modeling in Los Angeles, most agencies rejected her because they wouldn't take more than one black girl in their lineup. And even her feud with Naomi Campbell was rooted in that fashion world mentality that there can only be one black woman in the spotlight at a time, which is also known as tokenism. Tyra's Cancer Saturn is squaring her Libra Pluto, and Pluto rules secrets, surgeries, and transformation, and Libra deals with aesthetics. So this can point to Tyra getting a nose job secretly early in her modeling career and only coming forward with it in 2018. She also has her Chiron and Aries squaring her ascendant, which can symbolize dissatisfaction with one's physical appearance. And she also has her Venus in Capricorn, which can indicate low self-esteem since Venus rules your self-esteem, and Capricorn symbolizes lacks and delays. Cancer is also associated with women in general, so Saturn in Cancer reinforces Tyra not getting along with women. And she was actually a bully in elementary school, and once she became super tall and super skinny, she started getting bullied in high school because of her appearance. And later on, she had her public rivalries with Naomi Campbell, but also some of the judges on America's Next Top Model, mainly Janice Dickinson, Polina Poroskova, and a lot of former top model contestants also said that Tyra wasn't really as present as the show made it seem, and they barely saw her outside of the judging panel. So this reinforces Tyra Banks's shallow Gemini South node. Also, her Saturn in Cancer could represent Tyra's inability to relate to societal expectations that a woman has to fulfill, which is to have kids early on, take care of the house, be that typical domestic housewife. And Tyra doesn't identify with any of it, and she wants to break these stereotypes and live the busy life she wants to live. And this ties back to her Mars opposing her Uranus. Tyra Banks has an Aries moon conjunct her Aries midheaven in her 10th house, and this symbolizes Tyra prioritizing her career above everything else. It can also make her a great TV host, someone who can quickly improvise on the spot, or someone who has no shame displaying her emotions in a professional setting. It pretty much reinforces all of her Mars and Aries traits, such as her selfishness, her cruelty, her short temper, and her combativeness. And it plays a huge role in who she is, since Tyra is a Cancer ascendant, so her moon is her ruling planet, and it's conjunct her midheaven, which represents your reputation. And it also reinforces her Sagittarian need to voice her opinions in any context, since her moon is forming a trine to her Sun and to her Neptune. Tyra's Aries moon explains a lot when it comes to her relationship with her mom, Carolyn. Aries is a very independent sign, so her Aries moon can point to Tyra's mom having a lot of initiative, raising her kids alone, having several jobs simultaneously, and struggling to stay financially afloat, especially after her divorce. And that divorce can be represented by Tyra having both Pluto and Uranus in the sign of Libra in her 4th house of family, which is a clear sign of divorced parents and atypical parenting. And her moon is squaring her Saturn in Cancer. So Tyra's mom is clearly the more dominant parent and the role model. And it's very interesting that Tyra is now raising her son York as a single mom, just like her mom raised her alone. Pluto is also the planet of death, surgery, and the medical field, so having it in Libra in the 4th house could point to Tyra's mom being a medical photographer. So Tyra was exposed to photography at an early age, and her mom actually helped her build her initial model portfolio when Tyra was starting out as a model. Tyra's moon conjunct to her midheaven can indicate her mom becoming her manager later on in her modeling career, and guiding her and giving her tips on how to evolve her career, especially when the high fashion designers stopped booking Tyra for fashion shows because she was gaining too much weight. In fact, I think had it not been for her mom, I don't think Tyra would have lasted that long in the modeling industry, since, as I mentioned earlier, she really let the negativity and the gossip get to her and couldn't really handle the pressure of the industry. And her mom had to step in and be the voice of reason, telling her, get it together. This is how we're gonna take your career. This is how we're going to proceed. And Tyra's Pluto is opposing her moon, which can symbolize a very influential and controlling mom, and it can highlight how much Carolyn personally and professionally impacted Tyra. In fact, a lot of what Tyra preaches to people comes from her mom. Tyra is a Scorpio Mercury, so this can make her a very emotionally intelligent individual, and this served her well, clearly, especially during her talk show, as this can make her ask the right questions to her guests in order to establish a deep connection. And this placement can also explain why she seems to enjoy making girls cry on her show, and why she likes to feature contestants with sob stories since Scorpio Mercury people are obsessed with the ugly truth about people and confronting them to the ugly parts of themselves. Mercury in Scorpio reinforces Tyra being too dominant in conversations and cutting people off. It can also make her a very vengeful individual, someone who will use their power to destroy you if you disobey them. And it's located in her fifth house of television and entertainment. And this also reinforces Tyra's exploitative nature. And Tyra did have Naomi Campbell on her talk show at some point to solve their, feud. And she was clearly trying to paint her as a villain and trying to make her apologize. And this Naomi episode, by the way, is a clear example of Tyra's Aries moon and her need to express herself for the whole world to see. Tyra also once eliminated a girl from Top Model Cycle 18 as Marie, mainly because she refused to participate in her booty tooch class. Also, another girl from that cycle, Catherine, also came forward and said that they used a test shot as her best shot during one of the judging panels, and she actually got eliminated because of that photo. And Scorpio is associated with crime and corruption, and Tyra definitely loves to, I guess, rig the system to keep her favorites in the competition. So when she says, here's your best shot, a lot of the time it's not even their best shot. Tyra has Jupiter in her 8th house in Aquarius, and it's forming a trine to her Pluto. And usually when Jupiter is positively aspecting Pluto, it can create an extremely wealthy businesswoman, which clearly applies to Tyra. This can also reinforce Tyra's interest in dark, taboo topics, and since her Jupiter is forming a sextile to her Sun and her midheaven, this can indicate Tyra not being afraid to discuss controversial topics on her shows. On the negative side, it can make her a scammer since the 8th house represents other people's money and Aquarius represents large groups of people. And, this reinforces all the drama surrounding Tyra Banks's makeup line, Tyra Beauty. Something interesting that I noticed is that Naomi Campbell is a Gemini sun, so her sun falls in Tyra's 12th house of hidden enemies. So this could explain why Tyra was so afraid of Naomi and why she mistreated top model contestants that reminded her of Naomi. Examples that come to mind include the infamous Tiffany from Cycle 4, Eugenia from Cycle 7, and Ebony from Cycle 9. She also had a challenge where girls had to walk in those super duper high heels, which was inspired by Naomi falling during a fashion show. And she also made a model throw a phone at somebody during a photo shoot on Cycle 7, which was a reference to Naomi famously throwing a phone at her assistant. So this really reinforces Tyra's vengeful Mercury in Scorpio. The challenge where the girls had to walk in those super duper high heels, that one happened on Cycle 6. So Tyra's North Node is in Sagittarius in the 6th house, and her South Node is in Gemini in the 12th house. Tyra is a Sagittarius sun, so in a way she did manage to activate her North Node in this lifetime by teaching and preaching and focusing on her purpose, which is to expand the definition of beauty. But it's in the 6th house of service, which is the opposite of the 12th house, and the 12th house is usually associated with illusions, television, and Hollywood. So Tyra in this lifetime needs to find a way to keep spreading her message, but in a more practical way without all of those reality TV gimmicks, without lying to people, without being a scammer. And she also needs to be more straightforward, transparent, and clear in what she stands for and what she's offering to the world and why she's doing what she's doing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week for another celebrity birth chart reading.